Hello viewers, today for refurbishing I have a Vtech CS6229 telephone, just with one handset. I want to do an initial checkout here on this telephone. I don't have the original power adapter, so I have to use my test adapter for now. And I've also just put in a miscellaneous battery into there because it wasn't, the original one is not charged up, and I don't know if it even is any good anymore. So we should have a telephone line here. Let's give this thing a test. Okay, earpiece and speaker works. All the buttons seem to work still. So I think it's safe to say this is working, so we're going to go ahead and do the refurbish now. So put the battery back in here. So looks like this comes apart as most of these things do. There's a single pair of screws at the bottom. So we're going to undo those. Okay. Whoops. This doesn't quite want to come off of there. Now when I do that, I don't like to do that, but when I do that, I always hold the screwdriver down like this. So if it was to slip and go in there, it wouldn't, my hand would stop it. Okay, so now this is opened. And I didn't realize that was zoomed in. Ugh. Okay. So, looks like the speaker here should just remove without the use of any screws, which is kind of interesting. Okay. And it looks like on here we only have two screws holding this in place. And I don't see any sort of antenna on here, which is kind of interesting. Alright. Maybe it's just that thing. I don't know. Anyways. Alright, so what we're going to do is set that aside. And we're going to go around and clean all this stuff out. Actually, that's not too bad at all. But we'll clean... yeah, it wouldn't hurt to clean that too. We're going to clean out buttons, which aren't too bad. We're going to clean out this front case, which is pretty nasty, and we'll clean the back. So I'm actually going to bring the video taker over there and show you how I do that. So all these components can really get as wet as you want them to be, and it really won't cause a single problem as long as you make sure they're dry when you put them back in place. The screen came out, which is kind of unusual, so we'll clean that as well. But I'm going to start with the dial pad, and this is what I'm going to do here. Hopefully that should be good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some soap and just put it on there like this, and I'm just going to wash it. I'm going to do this for a few minutes, so I'll pause the video. Alright, so this has been cleaned pretty good now, and this is the easiest method I've found to quickly and thoroughly clean these. So I'm going to rinse this off. Look at it closely again and make sure you didn't miss any spots, but that's pretty much clean as it was when it was new now. So now for the front cover of the handset, I'm going to follow the same procedure. I'm just going to wash this with the brush again. Okay, so now all the parts have been cleaned. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to dry them off. And when it comes to electronics, you can really get most of them as wet as you want to, and they'll work fine as long as you dry them off thoroughly before putting power to it. So I have a blower here. I'm going to turn it on, and I'm just going to get all the water out of the parts now. Okay, so now the handset is all clean and it's ready to go back together. I didn't do it on video, but I just quickly washed the board off with whatever that stuff's called. So now that's clean, just to make sure that there's nothing on there. I don't think there was anyways. Nor was there really a problem with the buttons not working, but it never hurt to make them a little bit cleaner. So now we can begin to reassemble the telephone. So I will put the dial pad back in there and make sure that it lines up correctly in all areas. There's like a little charge light thing up at the top that's got to go into place. Looks like everything is there. So now on top of that goes the actual button register thing, the conductive material. I don't know what that thing is called. Oh yeah, and the screen needs to go back into place. That would be relatively critical. I think this is pretty clean. Oh, maybe not quite. Okay, now it's clean. I believe this just sits in here like this. This is kind of odd. I don't know why the screen just decided to come out, but I think it sits in there like that. Does that make sense? No, that does not make any sense. I gotta figure out exactly how this goes in here. There we go, that's how it goes in there. Alright, so then on top of that goes the board. And at this point, I'll connect the battery just to test it. But we should be good. This is the test battery. That's the real battery. Where's the test battery? This test battery doesn't exactly fit in here, so we're kind of just finagling it in there. Is the base plugged in? Yes, it is. Okay, so yep, that's working. Okay, all the numbers are good. Alright, so we can continue on here. So what I will do is I will put in these last two screws up at the top. These are really flimsy phones, I have to say. The construction is just not solid at all. I mean, you can see this whole thing just flexes with ease. And years ago that would not have been acceptable. Okay. And close this up. And screw it back together. Let's just make sure the display is clean first. Yeah, it's clean enough. Okay, I'll put the test battery in here one more time just so we can test it. What happened? There it goes.
Set up 400 branches from New York to Bangor, Maine. And temperature.
Alright, so that's working. So I'll put this battery back in here for now. And hopefully that'll work. Now I'll have to get another one. Okay, so now we're going to clean the base now. There's some yucky material there at the bottom, and the front's not too bad, but there's a little stuff down in there. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can just clean this off with a regular cloth rather than having to take this whole thing apart. Actually, nah. That's probably going to be more time consuming than it would be just to take it apart and clean it easily. So we'll take it apart and clean it easily. I'm also going to have to figure out if I can rig up a power supply for this. It uses kind of an odd sized plug. Okay, well, that's easy enough to just clean. Let's see how this is going to come apart here. Looks like there is 2 screws for the electronics and then 2 screws for the speaker, so that shouldn't be too bad. And get my electrostatic thing situated here. Okay. This looks like this is the terminals for the charging on the handset. Looks like there's actually going to be 3 screws to undo this. Let's get this in video, that may help. Tape on here holding this down. Not quite sure what this crazy contraption is for, but let's pull the speaker out. have a couple more screws for the board itself. The second board, the buttons board. I guess we'll call that for now. So we have two antennas on this unit. It's kind of odd given this is a single band DECT 6, but that's cool, I suppose. Okay. So now I'm going to go clean this. I want to clean this buttons thing off as well. And then I will be back. Okay, so now we're going to reassemble this, and there's some kind of strange things going on inside of here. This, I'm not sure what its purpose is, but it goes right here. And it was kind of sitting like this inside of here. That's why it's not sticking. Okay, so whatever that does, this is now in place. And maybe it's like a some sort of a funnel for the sound, so it doesn't get lost inside the base. I don't know. That's there. We got this ring that goes on, so the speaker doesn't vibrate against the plastic there. And then this was an oddity. This piece here snaps into place like this, and then this actually snaps on from the outside. Now, the question is, okay, goes like this, and this may be interesting to get back into place without it breaking, because just like the handset, this is made of relatively cheesy plastic. Yeah, something's not quite right here. It's like the numerics screen didn't make it into place correctly. And it's still not making it into place correctly. There we go. Okay, so now those buttons are back in place. This goes back on here. Just probably zoom this out a little more so you can actually see it. This is being a little finicky too. Okay. And then this goes on here. And that should be all the buttons. Yep. So now I will just put the electronics board back on. First thing I'm going to do is put this back in place. Okay, so I got the base all reassembled. We're going to give it a test now.
Calls will not be answered. Calls will be answered.
Let's make sure this charges up. Yep, it's charging. Okay, so I'll close this up now. Okay, so now all that's left to do is sift through my box of wall warts and see if I can find one that's more fitting than this, because this one, the stinking end is so big this won't even lay flat on the table, so that's not acceptable. But I'll see if I can find one, and if not I'll have to fetch one from somewhere. But otherwise, that is going to be all for this video.